Hi, my name is Jordan Cedeno, and today I'm going to be presenting an app called WordStock. It's a vocabulary app, and I created it as a student at Career Foundry. So first of all, we have our persona. Her name is Serena Johnson. She's 32 years old, and she works as a PR manager. Working as a PR manager, words are very important to her. She's responsible for drafting and displaying a message that properly represent her company as authentically as possible. And for her to be able to do that to the best of her ability, she's got to have a very strong vocabulary. But something about Serena is she loves her job. She does love working as a PR manager. She's very devoted to her work and to her team. She's willing to help out her team whenever they need that extra help. She's willing to take on extra tasks, even if she's not sure if she can fit that into her schedule. Because she's so busy at work, she invests into her lifestyle a lot as far as like mental health care. She eats a healthy diet, she works out, she meditates, everything to, alleviate the stress of her work so that it doesn't feel like it's piling on too much. The problem is, while she wants to, get better at work, she understands that she's going to have to build a stronger vocabulary to do so. She's not sure how she's going to be able to fit in a proper learning tool into her schedule since she's so busy, and she also invests a lot of time into self-care because she's so busy. So she needs an app that can seamlessly fit into her lifestyle. It doesn't cut into the busy schedule that she already has. She needs an app that can adapt to her and her lifestyle and the way that she decides to use it. So first of all, this is how I went about my prototyping process. I started off with a flow chart. I needed two flow charts, one that would create two tasks that I felt like would be the most important in creating this app. The first one is creating word sets. I wanted there to be to be a process for people when they're learning words. They can add it into a set, or they can take it and create a set based off the word. Just so that they have their own process of learning. It's adaptable to them. They're not just learning a set session of words. They can create their own if they need to or if they want to. And then also quizzes, a quiz session, so that users can quiz themselves on the words that they learned, and they have a way of seeing if they retained the word or if they need to go back and restudy it so that they can learn it in a way where they feel like they're comprehending it. So now that I created some of my diagrams and my flows, the next thing would be to start my design process. I created my first prototype shortly after that, and this is just to help me visualize some of the flows that I wanted to create as far as the app goes, as I would be developing it a little bit further. As you can see on the top row, there's the splash page right here. There's a login page, and this would be the home page. Here, users would be able to click on the card set. If they click this plus button, then they would be able to add a card to their set. They can create a set or add a card to it. And then on the bottom row right here, towards the bottom right, we have what a quiz session would look like and what the end of that session would look like. They could retake it or they could exit. So after that, I decided just to add a little bit more to it, just to help me visualize kind of the direction I wanted the app to go in. Here's what the login page looks like for it. I had some changes from the first prototypes to the second prototypes, even though I added a little bit more color to it and just made it like a little bit easier for me to visualize. There were some things that I was missing even in the first prototypes that I decided to include in my second prototypes. The first thing that I changed would be I took away the quiz section from the homepage just because I felt like it cluttered the page a little bit too much. It was kind of hard in the eyes, and then I don't feel like users would be able to know what to click first. Like I wanted there to be a little bit more like direction of the eyes as far as how they would understand the app. The next thing that I changed, as you can see in the third and fourth section, was that I actually did decide to add the navigation on the bottom of the screen. I at first took it off just because I thought maybe it would clutter the screen, but seeing it now, or seeing it as I developed it with a design tool, it didn't clutter the screen too much, and I just think a navigation should always be there, possibly for the user. It's just kind of easier for them to go back and forth between pages. After that, something that was missing was a success message so that users would know a task is completed. The one I was missing was when they added a word set. They would just click through the word set, add it, but there's no way of saying like, hey, this word has been added to your set. And that's something that I added in my second prototype. So after I created the second prototype, the next step of this process would be to test it to see how usable is it. And I tested that with 3 users. The scope of it was just where are the missteps in the app? Like where can it be more intuitive and where can it be more user friendly? Like what parts of the app am I missing and what parts can be improved? To do this, I had 3 people who participated in it complete 4 tasks. The first was to log in. The next was to complete a study session. After that was create a word set and then eventually take a quiz. I did this with just my PC. I wrote down some notes with a pen and notepad, and I recorded them through the Discord application. I had them rate the tasks as far as usability goes through 0 through 4 system. 0 being there's no usability problem with the task. 4 being it's a usability catastrophe. It's impossible to get through. These were the findings of those usability tests. The first was the login task. Everybody was able to log in with no issues at all. After that was the study session. Everybody was able to find where to click as far as completing a study session goes, and they were able to complete that task with no problems. After that was creating a word set. I did have some issues as far as users trying to create a word set. A lot of them wanted to tap the plus button on the home page of the screen, but I hadn't created an actual flow from that plus button yet. Eventually, some of them found it. They found where they could create a word set, which was when they clicked on a study session, there was a call to action right there to create a word set. But not everybody was finding it easily enough just because they wanted to click on that plus button on the homepage to do it. And then lastly was my quiz section. This was the part of my app that users had the hardest time completing a task. And that was just because I had the quiz button at the bottom of the page of the study page. And people didn't take the time to scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page to find where the quiz button would be. So those are some things those bottom 2 tasks were the ones I knew I had to put the most time into as far as creating a little bit more, intuition as far as my app goes. Okay, so moving on was my third prototypes, and these are the revisions from my second prototypes. where I knew I had some missteps and I knew there were some things that I had to fix just from my usability test. Okay, so some of the things that I changed moving forward with these prototypes, I added a flow from that plus button where users could create a word set, as you can see. Just because everyone wanted to click on the plus button, I knew like it's just going to be easier for me just to, if I want to test this app again and ask people to create a word set, they're just going to like intuitively click on the plus button because it's the easiest one and it's right in front of their face, right there. And next was the quiz button. Um, Users weren't, or the people that I tested, they weren't scrolling all the way to the bottom of the study section to find the quiz. So I placed the button towards the top of the page right here so they could, if I was to test it, they could take a quiz right there immediately and they wouldn't spend so much time looking for it. It would just be easier on them altogether. And something just as far as design goes, in my earlier edition, I had a search bar up here. I just felt like it cluttered the page too much and it was just a little bit harder on the eyes, so I just took that away altogether. Okay, so what did I learn from this entire process? The first thing that I learned is I created too many non-functional call to action buttons, and ultimately those just ended up confusing my users. They wanted to click on certain things that had no function to them essentially at that point, and once they clicked on that, they're like, okay, what do I do now? Like, what am I supposed to do? And I knew that the confusion that my users were having as far as what to do in their tasks was ultimately just on me for creating too many calls to action that didn't work for them. Um, I know that I need to be more intentional with my features and my buttons and my calls to actions as far as users go. Like, what are they like instinctively gonna click on the most, and what part do I play in that as far as creating those? Next, I learned to scale back my prototypes a little bit. I think I went a little too heavy as far as the design goes. I first of all, I need to make sure that my flows, my that the flows that I create are completed all the way all together before I start throwing design and certain things in there. Um, so yeah, just scale it back a little bit, make sure my flows are airtight, and then move forward with kind of designing it. And in the next steps as far as that goes. Thank you. That was my presentation. Thank you for your time.